This is the Sega Master System.
Yes.
This was what people didn't know this. Sega actually made a system before the Genesis.
Yes.
It was called the Master System, and it actually came out a couple of months before the NES.
Yeah.
Sega knew what they were doing beforehand. They just kind of lost touch over the years. This is a really cool system. I had mini games for it, but for whatever reason, I got rid of those because I don't know, I got an NES, and they were really cool. But this is one of my favorite games on it. It's just like Zelda, and you put that in here. But the other type of game was a card, and you put the card slot in there. You could keep like 10 games in your pocket with those little cards that you just slip in there. So that's that. That's the original Sega Genesis. I don't know why, but Sega thought it was necessary to make 3 versions of the Sega Genesis. This was the first one. This component right here is pretty cool. You take it, you slip it on the top. This is now a Sega Master System.
Oh, wow.
Here is where you put the games.
Yeah.
That's where you put the card slot.
Wow.
Pretty cool. And since the Sega Master System didn't sell well, I can't imagine that that sold nearly as well either.
Right.
I have all the Sonics, Sonic, classics, the Spinball, 3D, all this stuff. Again, same thing, same story, not same friend. But I had the Miniser. I actually still have that one out in my garage, but it broke too. I just didn't throw away the broken pieces. But again, I have this legacy game with no matching gun. That is the second version of the Sega Genesis. It's just a newer looking version of the Sega Genesis. I don't know why they made it, except maybe so that it would be compatible with the Sega CD and the Sega Genesis 32X. The 32X is unique in that it was one of the only systems, again, one of the only systems for nerds out there that know, one of the only systems that was kind of a tweener. There were a lot of 16-bit games, or systems. There were many 64-bit, but that midway was 32, and it let us play games like Virtua Fighter in our living room, whereas you had to drive downtown and play it at the arcade otherwise. But it was awesome, the 32X. The Sega CD was cool because it had a really good sound quality. You had stereo sound from your games.
Yeah, Prize Fighter, I remember that.
Yep, and of course Mortal Kombat and Sonic CD was really cool too. But these things are just a pain because every one of these are necessary. Every one of these have to plug in somewhere back here. It ends up looking like some sort of blast station at NASA or something when you get it all hooked up. That is, again, a very obscure system that they saw the need for. It's the third version of the Sega Genesis.
It's pretty small.
Well, and it's useless. You can't. Let's say you did buy the Sega CD or the 32X.
It's not
or
compatible.
Just about anything else. It only has 2 connections.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have it didn't upgrade it. Whereas with the Super Nintendo, at least they upgraded.
Yeah.
So you're no longer using the coax cable. You could actually plug in with RCA with the new one.
Mm-hmm.
This one just stayed back.
Like a loser.
Yeah, I don't understand why they even made it. But anyway, we're probably witnessing the beginning of Sega's downfall here.
Yeah.
Because then the Sega Saturn was an awesome system.
Pretty expensive.
Exactly. They priced it. They overpriced it, and it didn't sell very well. I don't have it, but they actually made a second version of the Sega Saturn that looked kind of rounder instead of being boxy.
Was there a metallic one, or am I just making that up?
I don't know.
Okay,
maybe this color. Is that what you're thinking about?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because those were Sega
I might be
Saturns,
making it up.
two, big colors or whatever. The cool new thing about the Segas from now on is that this is what you use instead of having these massive power blocks all over your living room. It was kind of nice. But and then this is Virtua Fighter 2, which really rocked. Virtua Fighter, but we wouldn't have known that for a couple of years. This is the Dreamcast, probably one of the most underrated systems that I have. It was awesome. It really was. I mean,
and no one cared about it.
No, nobody did. And it probably was better than any system out there as far as graphics were concerned, speed. But it was just really expensive, and they had a lot of cool ideas like this. These things here, snap in here, and give you information about the game while you're playing it. But then when you take it with you, it's not only a card, reader like this, but there were mini games that a lot of games allowed you to put on here just by putting it in while you played it. and it was just really cool. I don't know why it didn't take off, but I have a couple of games. The Dreamcast came out with a keyboard for, I'm guessing, just for one game, as far as I could tell from research. Phantasy Star Online allowed you to type, so you were playing a game like World of Warcraft, but on your TV, and you could type in everything to people that were playing with. This is the Sega Game Gear. It was the first color version of any video game handheld system, and it rocked. It's still fun to play. It just is awesome. Again, just Sega doing what they do well, but overpricing it. It didn't sell very well. I didn't buy mine even until the price came way down years later. So this is just a big, massive
magnifying glass.
Glass for it. And
is there a light in there or just a glass?
Yeah, there's a light underneath. But and then the games.
Cool. Pretty impressive.
Yes.
Wow.
And, it takes up about 24 by 15 square feet of space in my living room. I had to move my furniture out on the deck just to accomplish this feat. And I really hope that somebody on eBay wants to buy it all at once so I don't have to list them individually.
That would be nice.
Yes.
All right. We done?
Yes.